Hello and welcome to this video, where we're today going to talk about the top 10 players, in my opinion, in each role. So this is going to work is basically we're going to look at 5 different roles, which is going to be, we're going to look at controller, sentinel, initiator, duelist, and flex. The last one, flex, is a bit more up for interpretation on what players you would include there. But overall, I've just picked the ones that I feel like fit into that category, as most of this list either way is just personal opinion. I also will have 5 honorable mentions on each of them. And yeah, that's about it. So why don't we go right ahead and start with the controllers? I will say controllers was one of the more difficult ones. I will say flex was probably the hardest one, but this one was close, not close behind, because currently in the world, in my opinion, there aren't many like absolutely fantastic controller players. There are like one or two, maybe three, and those are pretty clearly like the top of the top. But then after that, it becomes really difficult to rank all the others. But I've done my best. So we're gonna start with honorable mentions, where we have Pankada, who, although Loud is not performing particularly well, he's pretty consistently now been performing well at that Loud team for a long time, even through their ups and downs, and has been one of the better players on that team. Boaster is one that a lot of people would probably argue wouldn't be on here before this season, but I just think with the performances we've seen lately, and it's not looked fluky either, he's looked really solid basically, and that's why I feel like I have him here on the honorable mentions list as sort of like to show that he's actually looks really good lately. Then we have Thai, who is the new player at Talon. Obviously, he has not played a lot, but what I've seen so far, he's looking really good. So I just wanted to put him here to give him a bit of a sort of shout out. Then we have Melser, who, while he's played a lot, I do feel like he's right on that edge, right? He's right there. He's so close to be on, but personally, I just didn't think he quite made it on. Kind of the same with Azir. A player from China playing for Nova, he's absolutely hard carrying that team. But I just personally think that there are basically 10 or 11 better ones than him. And while he's really good, like really, really good, I feel like also Meltzer less than Azir, but especially Azir needs to prove it more on like a international stage. Moving on to number 10, 9, and 8, I'm going to do sort of a 3 into 2, and then the top 3 are going to get a separate one each. We got Vic of C9, a player that has played like around the tier 1, tier 2 level for a very long time, and I think he's just getting better and better every single time we see him. Obviously, the last couple of weeks with C9, he has looked absolutely stellar. Finally looking to be that sort of player that we saw in tier 2, and he's looking great. Then next to him, we have Persia, a player that's been in the scene forever. And finally joined tier 1, and he is looking just as good as he did before. Just an absolutely phenomenal player, and someone that I hope to see at the international stage soon, because I think he deserves it in this Nongshim team. Then we go into Bang, Sentinel's new controller for this year, and obviously played for 100 Thieves last year. Was one of the better controllers in all of NA that year too. And honestly, he had a bit of a slow start with Sentinels, but he is starting to warm up into that seat and is looking really good. Moving on to 7, we have DOS9, a player that I feel like, although he hasn't shown a lot, as I said, this role is sort of kind of weak. Like it's kind of odd to like see what you get here. And sure, there's things about international stages and everything with DOS9, but I feel like DOS9, he's just looked too good to not put on here. Like, if you've watched this guy in the games that he's played so far, he is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, how good this guy is, it's just ludicrous, and I needed to put him up here. Although obviously we've not seen him on the international stage or anything like that, I just felt like he needed to be up here with how good he's looked on that boom roster. Now moving on to 6, we have Smoggy, who's one of those players where I feel like a lot of people would probably place him higher, but just personally for me, although as you see in the photo there, he's holding a champs trophy, so maybe he's better than I think he is. But personally, I just think that he's a bit too inconsistent for me. Obviously, he has had a great stage run, but at the same time, he had a pretty poor Bangkok and kickoff. And he's just one of those players that just can look like one of the best players in the world, and then the next day just completely disappear. And also, I feel like he overextends quite a lot, which is not great as a controller player, and therefore I have him down here at 6. Now going into the top 5, we have Som, another player that I just think is absolutely fantastic. Um, he's been so good for Energy this year, and it's kind of sad actually that we haven't gotten to see him more on like a big international stage of late. Obviously he didn't play for all of 2024, played for Energy in 2023, and they didn't do very well. Same with Energy this year; they're still not particularly doing that well. But Som is just consistently overperforming his team every single time he's on this Energy team. The only reason he's not higher really is just there are times where he is slightly inconsistent and his util usage maybe isn't some of the greatest in the world, but it's still not bad. Don't get me wrong. But just compared to some of the people above him, his util usage isn't as good, basically. As when we come to number 4, we have Valen. He's obviously the IGL on G2, one of the best teams in the world, if not the best team in the world right now. And I mean, he just sets his team up so well on that controller, man. He is so good at it, and it's just absolutely fantastic what he can do in that role, especially with his IGLing and everything. Moving on to 3, we have Kiko, a new name. And it's one of those players where coming into this year, I never thought I'd have him here. I genuinely never thought I'd have him here. But man, him on controller is genuinely giving me flashbacks of like 2023 Demon 1. Like, that's the sort of level we've seen from this guy. Like, he has been so absolutely incredible. And while his util isn't like perfect, he is just such a star on this team. And it's just ridiculous what he gets away with sometimes that it just doesn't really matter because he's just genuinely just better than everybody on the server. And it's just ridiculous. Now, the reason he's not higher is basically just because the top 2 have a similar star power to what I think Kiko does, um, but just simply has better util usage. That's literally where it ends. And to start off that top 2, we have Mako, a guy a lot of people would probably put number 1. But I just personally think this other player has proven for enough time now that he can perform at such a ridiculously high level at that role that he outperforms Mako. I think Mako's consistency just for me basically this other player has been able to consistently perform at a higher level than Mako in my opinion. Um, and Mako always gets praised for his consistency, although I wouldn't say that player is at the number 1 player here is as consistent as Mako. He is still consistent enough, and his peaks are still higher, so much higher than Mako's, that I think on a day-to-day basis, I'd pick this player above Mako, and it is going to be Karen with this Gen G roster. I mean, they picked him up last year off of basically no info. I mean, he had barely played in tier 2 whatsoever. I mean, he was a pretty new name. Nobody really knew what he was gonna be coming in, and it's ridiculous where he is now. I mean, his util is fantastic. He has consistently been, I would argue, the best player on Gen G, which is impressive considering you're gonna see further into this video, there are multiple players from Gen G on this list, and honestly, like even in 2024 when they had Meteor, Texture, Munchkin, like that star-studded roster, I still think Karen a lot of the times looked like the best player on that team, and he was doing it on controller while also having some of the best controller utility I think I've ever seen, like some of the most creative stuff, and it's just ridiculous what this man does, man. Like that anchoring on Astron, like Abyss, like it's just there's so much that this guy does that it's just unseen in the rest of the controller space, and it's just ridiculous how good he is. Now, moving on to the initiators. This is one of those categories where it's like this category for me very much it matters like what you value in an initiator, because I feel like there are so many good initiators that it's very much personal preference, but I try to be as unbiased as possible here, but it's really difficult. Um, Now, somebody like Leo, for example, won't be on this list because obviously he hasn't played this year. He barely played last year, even. So I can't really put him on here, although technically he's still on a team. He obviously hasn't played, so I'm not gonna have him on a list like this. Now, going into honorable mentions, we start off with John Cutie, where to me personally, I don't think I've seen enough like brilliance, like utility wise for me from John to put him up there in the top 10. But I just wanted to put him on here because obviously he's gone over to a completely new role, IGLing and everything, and it's looked pretty good. It's looked pretty good from John. I'm gonna be honest, it's looked really good. Obviously, there's been times where this team's looked messy, but I feel like that's more to do with them just having to integrate two new players and having to basically create an entire new team culture, because that was something that Saucy and Tense obviously had a very big part in. And that's more been the struggles to me than John QT's RGLing on the Initiator. And I think it has been really good. I just think his util usage hasn't been good enough for me to put him up there, and I don't think his star power is high enough to put him up there either. Now, coming on to my second honorable mention, we have Stacks. I mean, he just won Bangkok, obviously, on the IGL role on Initiator. He's a great Initiator player. I genuinely believe so. I just think that the star power isn't there for him to fully reach that top 10 level. I'm going to be completely honest. I do think he is close to it, as he is here in the honorable mentions, but I just think that star power that you need to get into that top 10 is just not there to me. It's just not there fully with Stacks. When we go to Verno, though, it's quite the opposite. As I do think the star power is there for him to be top 5, if not even top 3, if not even the best in the world. But it's just sort of a bit of an experience, and also sort of that consistency over periods of time that we need to see with Verna. Sure, there are some players like Kiko that I've had before that's been like top 3 without really having seen that consistency over time. But I do feel like that's different because somebody like Kiko has shown it at so many different levels, and Verno has not really shown it at any level yet. I do think there's potential there, but I just think currently he has not shown enough to be in that top 10. Now, moving on to the next one, Cloud. I mean, Cloud is one of those players where it's like, if you watch EMEA, you know how ridiculously good this guy so is. Like, he is so good. But personally, it's just sort of, he never gets to the international stage. He's never had a roster good enough to be there. And that's sort of where my doubts start, because obviously he was at Champs last year, I'm pretty sure. But that's the only international I'm pretty sure he's ever been to, as far as I know. And I don't think I've seen enough on that stage for me to put him up there. And although he has been consistent, and I do think you don't need to have shown it on an international stage to put me up there, I do think he is just like that slight bit, like, he's just that slight bit off from being on this list. Like, it's a bit like, I don't know. I would love to put him on the list, but I just feel like there's so many people that just don't know about this guy because he doesn't have that star power that a lot of that would see him outside of the region, like Kiko, for example. Now, when it comes to Mr. Fallen, I mean, he's another great player from Foot, obviously. Um, and honestly, I feel like obviously he's shown it at the international stage. I just think he's just not really up there to me. He's just not there. Um, he's like really close to be there, but he's just not there. He's kind of like always been this consistent, good initiator player for this Foot team, but that's not really enough for me to push you into the top 10 initiators in the entire world, you know? Now, going into the top 10, we start with Slowly, a player who fucking needs to be on a better team, man. It's crazy to think that I have a player in the top 10 that plays on one of the worst teams in China, but man, if this guy got to get this spot got to try out for EDG, this guy would genuinely be considered one of the best initiators in the world. I genuinely believe that. This guy is so ridiculously good. Like, this Tyloo team gets maps because this guy exists. Like, this Tyloo team would not be winning anything if it wasn't for this guy's existence. Like, this guy is genuinely carrying this team on his back, and it's not even funny. Like, it's that bad. He is so ridiculously good that I just can't not put him on here. Like, it's actually crazy how good he is. Now, moving on to number 9, we have Crashies, who, but yeah, obviously I can't put him much higher than 10 because he's playing for Tyloo, one of the worst teams in China. So it's a bit difficult for me to judge exactly how good he is, but I just needed to put him on the list because he is that good. Uh, Now, Crashies, as I said, obviously it's shown some absolutely stellar performance coming in stage 1 for Fnatic. It's going to be really interesting to see where he goes, but I just personally think I don't know if I've seen enough to put him higher than this, but he is obviously shown for a very long time that he's a very good initiator player. And currently, he is looking back to like peak Crashies form. And that's kind of why I have him on this list. Now, number 8, we have Kix from Team Vitality, who is just an absolutely incredible initiator. I mean, I would argue he has some of the best util of any, at least Sky player I have ever seen, and arguably one of the best initiators when it comes to util usage overall. And I mean, his aim is also really good as well. I just think the people above him either has slightly edges him in either one of the categories or is just slightly more consistent, because that's like the problem with Kicks, right? He has maps where he just goes absolutely crazy, and then he can just have a map where he just kind of disappears, and his utils is always going to be decent, but sometimes you just look and you're like, oh shit, wait, where the fuck is Kicks? And you're like, I've seen his util this game, but look at how is he how has he only got that many kills? And it's like sort of that thing that kind of happens. You just kind of only see his utility, and then you think he's doing really well, and then you look at the leaderboards and you're like, yikes. And you can't really have that on somebody that's going to be like a top 5 in the world for me. Now, moving on to 7 and 6, we have Aves, who's another new player. And personally, this guy is absolutely incredible. Like, I don't know, man. He's just so good. Like, you see people like Verno, right, who's also new, down there. The reason Aves is up here is because he's taken a team that looked mediocre, like KC, or a team that was supposed to look good, like KC was supposed to look good, and this guy is outperforming everyone. I mean, not Martin. Martin has been frying in stage 1, but in kickoff, he outperformed the entire KC roster and basically put them on his back. Sure, he couldn't do much, but you can't really expect that from a rookie either, right? But he is just so good on this role. So good. And really the reason he's above Kicks right now is basically just for reason form, as Team Vitality has had a rough period, and Kicks has not looked much better than the rest of the team. So therefore, I am personally putting Aves above him currently. Now coming into Cushy. This Cushy guy, man, if RRQ can make internationals this year, this guy might be argued for the best rookie of this year. Like, this guy is so ludicrously, insanely fucking good at this video game. And his Sova looks absolutely stellar. And no matter what agents you put him on, he's always performing. And it's just ridiculous. And he's so good. And that's why he's 6th. Now, going into the top 5, we start with Patty Tech, who I don't know if I need to explain that one, to be completely honest. We all know Patty Tech. We all love him. His util is absolutely god tier. The only thing is him being able to consistently frag has always been an issue, and that's why he's not higher on the list. Now, going into EU, I mean, it's EU, man. He's one of the best fates in the world. He has absolutely incredible util on that recon initiator, and he frags heavy. Like, there's not much more you need to say, really. He's just an absolutely incredible player, and I just think there's 3 people better than him, and it's that easy. It's that simple. Now, going into number 3, we're actually gonna have 2 players from G2 on this list, on the initiator list, and we're gonna start with Jonah P at 3rd. And this is really why this G2 roster is so good, because they have, to be frank, have Jonah P, in my opinion, the player with the best initiator util basically in the entire world. Like, genuinely, he's that good. Like, you can put him on any initiator, and he looks like one of the best initiators in the world with his utility. Now, his fragging can be a bit back and forth, but I don't think it matters, because the reason his fragging is a bit back and forth is because he is playing such a supportive initiator role that it's really difficult for him to have those big fragging performances. And when he's needed, he does really fucking frag as well. And that's just sort of why he's here. But because he's more of a supportive role, I can't really put him higher than 3rd, in my opinion. As on the 2nd spot, we have Rians. A player that I probably wouldn't have had this high if it wasn't for that Team Heretics are starting to look good again. And they really are. They are looking really, really good again. And this guy's at the forefront of it. And he is just absolutely ridiculous. And I don't think I have to say much more. And number 1, we have Trent, the 2nd G2 player. And basically the player that has as close, I would say he is as close of perfect utility as you can get to Jonah, while still fragging at an absolutely insane level. As this guy is arguably one of the best players in the world. Like, this guy is not on the same level, but on honestly a similar level to like a Leo. That's how good this guy is. He is just absolutely ridiculous, and there's not much that can stop him currently, as he's just absolutely frying on G2. Sure, he had some rough games to start off, but it didn't really end up mattering because they won either way. And he's looking back to form again. So, man, this G2 team is scary. They really are. Now, going into the Sentinels role, I might go through this a bit quicker because it's already been 24 minutes and I don't want to make this video too long. I'm still going to talk about them quite a lot. Doesn't really matter that much, but I'm just going to try to speed it up a slight bit. We start with the honorable mentions, where we have Yosemite, Berserks, Cortesia, Yeti, and Elite. Where Yosemite, I just want to put him on here because he is so good at BLG. But personally, I just think he just doesn't have that final... He hasn't shown that final edge at like the top levels for me to put him up in the top 10. He's really close, but he isn't really there. And then Berserks is one of those players on this Boom roster that's looked so good. that I really like. Like, I genuinely believe this guy is absolutely incredible, and I would argue the second best Sentinel in all of APAC. But there's just a bit of that inconsistency and a bit of that rookie feeling you can get of him at times that just makes it so I can't see him be top 10. Then we have Cortesia, who is one of those players that honestly could be up there. There's just so many good Sentinel players in the world right now, and that's sort of why he's out of this list. Same with Yatuye, to be honest. It's kind of the same there. Just sort of a player that you feel like when you watch them play, you're like, oh yeah, that's a top 10 Sentinel in the world. And then you start thinking about it, and you're like, oh, there are that many good Sentinels in the world. Say honestly, same with Elite. Like, there are just so many good Sentinels that getting a top 10 list, there are so many Sentinels that you feel like should be top 10 that just don't get on the list. And I feel like Cortesia, Yetier, and Elite are three prime examples of just that. But when we go into the top 10, we start off with Benji Fishy. And he is honestly this low for one reason and one reason only, and that is that he's in slight off form. He has started to get back a bit into his form, but he's still kind of looking like the worst player on that Team Heretics team right now, which is a bit sad to say, but it's how it is. He's just not looking good enough right now. Then we go over to Vukashu, who, if you are watching China right now, this guy is probably the biggest meme in the entire region. Maybe not the biggest meme, as we have HFMI and all that shit, but this guy, man, basically, if you don't know, he doesn't speak any Mandarin whatsoever. He's Russian and basically is just playing Sentinel and kills everybody and doesn't understand the comms on his own team. It's it's pretty ridiculous, but he consistently outperforms everybody in the server, and it's just ridiculous to watch him play because he'll just swing you and kill you, and you'll be like, okay, sure, you're a Vukashu. Why not do that? Sure. Then Mini, who this is a guy that I feel like is getting kind of flown under the radar right now. This is a guy that I feel like a lot of people have like Elite, Yetier, and all these guys above him. But Mini, man, he has been absolutely fantastic. Like, fantastic for this Gentlemates team, man. He's been so good. Like, so good. It's actually ludicrous to watch this team and then just see Mini go in there and kill three people. And you're like, huh? What happened? Was that. Oh, Mini killed three? Oh, okay. That works. Sure. And it's just really ridiculous. And if you haven't watched Mates and haven't specifically been watching Mini, for some way this just goes under the radar quite a lot of the time. Just how good this guy is, and it's not that weird actually, because like when you watch the games, it doesn't feel like he's performing that insanely. But then you look at the leaderboard and you're like, wait, Mini has like 5 to 10 more frags than everybody else. The fuck happened here? And, yeah, it's just ridiculous what this guy does. Just behind the scenes, almost it feels like he's just so good and such a smart player, and it's just ridiculous. That's all it is, really. Now coming into seventh, we have Shy, who has just been absolutely stellar on this crew roster. It's just there's not much more to say really. He's just such a good player, man. And especially like when we put him next to the number 6 guy, like that I'm comparing him to players like Nats. It really shows how good Shy is for this crew roster. Like he just gets away with things that you feel like nobody should get away with, and you're just watching it and you're like, yeah, but it's Shy, so of course he does. Like of course he does, and it's sort of the same with Nats, right? It's kind of similar where it's like you see this sort of but Nats is more of like the reason really Nats is higher than Shy here for me personally is just because Nats has the smarts. He's just like the big brain player that will just sort of get into a position, and then you're like, all right, this is a nice position from Nats here. He probably gets like 1 or 2, right? And then he gets 4. And that's sort of the thing with Nats, right? Like Shy gets into a position where you're like, all right, why the fuck are you playing here, Shy? And then he still gets 2. Nat gets into a position where you're like, oh, this is a nice position by Nats. Maybe he gets 2, and then he gets 4. So it's like, that's sort of the difference between these two players, right? And I just think those smart plays that Nats does just slightly makes him edge out Shy a bit for me, personally. Now, going into the top 5, we start with Alphayear, who the only reason he's really not higher for me right now is just because of recent performances. I mean, Alphayear, similar to Benji, honestly, has looked like the worst player on this Fnatic team, which is insane to say. But he just has. It's kind of weird. But yeah, Alpha has not been performing lately. And it's kind of crazy. But it is what it is. And he's number 5. Now, Les number 4. Once again, the reason why he's not higher is because obviously Vitality has been underperforming. And therefore Les has been underperforming. And other than that, he's just an insane player, as is. Now, going into the top 3, we start off with Meteor, which I don't think I have to say much. I mean, this guy just won Bangkok. He is arguably one of the best players in the world, and it really tells you a lot about how good the Sentinel class in is when one of the best players in the world is the 3rd best Sentinel. Because it's the 2nd place. We have Chichu. And it's just like, yeah, Chichu's better. He's just better. He's just genuinely this good. Chichu is ridiculously good. Like you just watch this guy play, and you're like, yeah, of course he does that. That's Chichu. That's Chichu for you. He just shoots them in the head and wins, and he has great utility, and he is arguably the most composed player on this EDG roster. Is honestly, like without Chichu, I don't think EDG is winning anything at any international ever. To be completely honest. Now, number 1, another G2 player, man. This G2 roster is just so good. I don't know. They just have like the best player in the world in like every single role, almost, and it's kind of ridiculous. As we have Leaf here, and yeah, he just continues to perform, man. It doesn't matter who it is, he always performs. I will say he has had some stinker performances, but it's kind of funny because Leaf's stinker performances is like an average player. So it's like, is it really a stinker performance? Or is it just an average performance from a player that's the best player in the world? Like, yeah, he's just that good. Now going into the duelists. This was another role where it felt like there are so many to choose from, and it's so difficult to like get it down to even like a 15 with the 5 honorable mentions. But going into the honorable mentions, we have Famous here, who is sort of a guy I just had to put on the honorable mention list personally, because with how good he has looked in this Boom team, he could honestly be in top 10. The only reason he's not there is because of consistency. Because Famous does have maps where he just kind of disappears, which is something you really don't want to see in your duelist. And that's sort of why he's here. But like Famous is genuinely one of those players that you look at his stats and you're like, what the fuck is his rating, man? What the fuck? Like I remember watching a game with Famous, and like the VLR system is like absolutely brutalizing this man. Like he had like the 2nd most kills in the lobby. And guess what? He had a 0.5 Valorant rating. Like a 0.5, 0.6. And I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck, VLR? This guy just dropped the 2nd most kills in the lobby, like 160 ADR, and you're telling me that he performed a fucking stinker. Like, what are you on about? It's just ridiculous. This guy's so good, though. Like, he's so good. And just performs at a ridiculously high level constantly. And he just kind of goes under some people's radar because of his VLR rating just being in the absolute gutter for no reason whatsoever. Now, going into Oxy, I mean, it's Oxy. He needed to be on here somewhere, and this is where he is. I do think he's really close to the top 10. I just personally think that Oxy has that bit of youthness in him still, where he kind of overcommits and overheats quite a lot. And obviously that leads to insane clips. Like there are some insane clips from Oxy, but he just overcommits and does a bit too much at times, and that's sort of why he isn't higher. Now Suze, on the other hand, is just an absolute beast. The reason this guy isn't higher is because he's playing on foot, arguably. I mean, he's carrying foot, but like this guy could be top 5 if he just gets on a team that can be best in the world. Like if this guy gets best on a team that can compete for trophies, this guy is genuinely one of the best duelists in the world. And it's just ludicrous how good this guy is. Now, Kesnet is one of those duelists that is so consistently good, but at the same time not really that consistently good. And that's kind of why he isn't on the list, while I have some other duelists on the list, is just because Kesnet sometimes just isn't as good as you want him to be. And when it comes to Radiga, it's kind of the opposite, where we just haven't seen enough of him. We've seen so much of Kesnet, and it's just not been consistent enough for me personally to put him top 10. With Radiga, he has been super consistent for a very short period of time and been super consistently incredible. But he's just outside of the top 10. Now, coming into number 10, 8, and 9, we start with Jemkin. Now, Jemkin is one of those players that if you're not watching Pacific, you don't know how good this guy is. Now, this guy, no matter which tournament he plays in, genuinely, no matter what tournament you put him in, he is always one of the highest performing players in the entire tournament. It's absolutely ridiculous how good this guy is on such a ridiculously consistent level. He is never really like the best of the best, but he is always up there competing for the best of the best in every single tournament, no matter which one he plays. And I just couldn't get him out of this top 10. I genuinely just couldn't. Now going into Hyunmin. He's obviously new for this year, but I mean, if you just watch what this guy is doing on the RX, it's criminal at times, man. It's genuinely criminal. And honestly, good job, DRX. I mean, you found the bus replacements pretty quickly in Hyunmin. Very quickly, actually. A really good Buzz replacement as well. Now, we're going to get to Buzz later, as I don't think he's better than Buzz, but you find a incredible replacement. There's not much more I can say there. Now, number 8. This guy is pretty infamous. Now, Wisey, if you don't know who this guy is, he is the guy that single-handedly, with a judge, defeated NRG twice. This guy is just absolutely ridiculous. He's playing on BLG, and he is just so fucking good, and it's not fair. I think it was Champions 2023. It was where NRG played Billy Belly twice in the group stage, and they lost both times, I'm pretty sure. And guess who was top fragging in that lobby? If not, BLGYZ. It's absolutely ludicrous. Twice in a row, they 2-0'd, and YC dropped 50 in the first game, and he dropped 45 in the second game, and just absolutely bombed NRG out of champs. And he is still equally as good. Now moving on to 7 and 6. These are two players that really hurts to have this low. It really does. I mean, Texture and second, both of these are arguably some of the best duelists in the world. It's just, first off, such a competitive list. But second of all, recency bias, man. I mean, if Genji makes this international event and does really well, and Texture continues performing like he has been in Pacific right now, he's gonna be much higher on this list. But if you just look at like this year overall, Texture has had some really rough performances. And it's honestly the same with Zack. And sure, Sentinels made Bangkok, but if you remember what happened with Sentinels at Bangkok, I don't think that there is much to brag about there. And overall, I just think second has not been as absolutely stellar as we know he can be. And it's kind of the same with Texture. Although I will say he has been stepping up a lot in the last couple of games. He has looked really good again. So I'm hoping that Texture can continue this form, because if he does, he's going to be much higher in the future. Now going into the top 5, we have another player who hurts to have this low, but it has to do with his team and also a bit him underperforming, and it's Aspas. Um, Aspas barely being top 5 duelist in the world is kind of an odd sentence to say, but he has just been sort of underperforming on MIBR, which is crazy because MIBR has been absolutely amazing so far this stage 1. But Aspas has not been the star player on that roster. At times he's looked absolutely amazing, but there are just some times where Aspas has just gone silent, which is so odd to see because he has always been the player that never has an off game. Like, never has an off game, and just looks like one of the best players in the world every single game he plays. And that's why he is so highly regarded. But so far in stage 1, I don't think we've seen that from Aspas. Now, obviously, he is probably going to go and prove me wrong and be best player in the entire tournament for the rest of the tournament. But so far, we haven't seen it, and that's sort of why I'm putting him 5th. Now going into 4th, we have Buzz here, which was Hyunmin was a replacement of, obviously, but he is still absolutely amazing. He had a bit of a rough game today against RRQ, but overall he has just been absolutely stellar, and T1 have one of the best duelists in the world in him, so I don't think they have much to worry about. Now going into the top 3, we start with Derke, who I would usually have number 1 on this list, but with current form and everything, I mean, Derke has been really struggling. Like, really, really struggling. Like, ever since they lost their first game at Bangkok, this Derke has really been struggling to get back into form. And it's kind of sad, but that's sort of why it's not higher, which is crazy to say because he's still 3rd. So, I don't know. Going into 2nd, we have Kong Kong, who once again, Kong Kong could also have been 1st. But I just think like these top 3 all could be 1st. But just based on recent form, Giacomo is no number 1. This guy is ridiculously good. Like, ridiculously good on G2. There might seem like I have a bit of G2 bias, but genuinely before this year, I was not very like liking of G2. Obviously, I like them a bit more now. Not because they're doing much better now, but mostly because I really like I'm a big Fnatic head and I really like Anders. And obviously he joined G2 and he's good friends with the G2 guys and everything. So that's why I sort of like G2 a lot now. Also I just think they're a great team and overall I like the players. But yeah, they are just honestly, this G2 team almost have like slot in best player in each role that they could get, which is just so ludicrously ridiculous. And it's unfair. Now going into flex, this is probably the one role where they don't have that. But honestly, it doesn't really matter because you can just play double initiator on every single map. And they win either way. And they don't even need to play double initiator because they could play Viper on. Because some maps they play Viper Omen, and that works fine as well. So, yeah. The only issue, obviously, is when they play Viper Omen, they don't really have a Sentinel player. But even when they do play Viper Omen, And on the Sentinel, they have Jonah P, who can also flex onto Sentinel. And the only reason he really isn't a flex player is because they don't really need to play that sort of style right now. Because Viper isn't that in meta on the maps she is. You either don't need a second controller, or when you do, you can usually either play something else or play it without a Sentinel. So they don't really need Jonah to flex that much. But yeah, so going into flex, we're gonna start with the honorable mentions, where Forsaken is really just on this honorable mentions list because we all know how good this guy is as a flex player, but currently he's playing duelist, so therefore I'm just gonna put him here, because he has been flexing a bit, but he's just not flexed enough for me to put him on the list. But I just wanted to put him here so people don't think I've forgotten him, basically. And now Seba, he has been absolutely performing better than what he should be. Maybe he isn't performing better than what he should be, and he is just sort of in this form, and this is how he's going to be playing now. But he is really good, and that's why he's on the honorable mentions list. It's kind of same with Sivo. I mean, not in the sense that he isn't playing as good as that he's playing better than he should be, but just he's so good. He's been so good for Vitality. Now, I will say there has been times where he has struggled quite a lot, but overall, he has just looked so good every single time we watch him play, and there's not much more to say about it. That's why he's on the honorable mentions list. Then YOU and Neff, it's sort of the same, where they're just really good players, but they're just not good enough to be on the list, and that's really where it ends. Now, going into the top 10, we start with Juka, uh, who is just, once again, a really good player. I don't know what more to say, really, there. He's just so good with his utility and so good with everything else. And he can play like almost anything, and he looks good on almost everything. So, yeah, sort of the same with Mazzino. Although Mazzino, I will say, is a bit of an odd one, because although he plays a bunch of different roles, he plays very odd agents. So it's a bit odd where you put him, but I still have to put him here because he has been playing so well, not only on Lev last year, but also on Crew this year. Now going into 8th, this is one of those players that if you watch Pacific, this guy, it's so sad that he's playing on Team Secret because he is so good and Team Secret are so bad. But yeah, Envy is genuinely an absolutely outstanding player, and he is basically just sitting there on Team Secret, playing whatever they want him to play, and outperforming the entire Team Secret team, playing everything. And it's insane. It's insane, to be completely frank. Now moving on to 7, we have Shao, who's a bit of a player, which feels odd to put on here. But basically, it has to do with how weird the roles are on Navi, and therefore he is like playing a bit of Initiator, a bit of Sentinel sometimes, and then a bit of Smokes sometimes. It's really weird. He should be a controller, but he just isn't currently, and he's just playing a bit of everything. Because they got Rooksik, obviously, who's a controller now, but then sometimes Rooks, they play double controllers, and then he play Astra, and then sometimes Hero isn't on Sentinel, so then he plays Sentinel, and then sometimes they play double Initiator, and then he was on the Initiator. It's just weird. It's just weird, man. Shao is just in an odd place. But yeah, going on to number 6, we have Woods, who, well, this guy obviously replaced Paddy in a way on Team Heretics last year, and he did a really good job at playing a very different role than Paddy, where he just frags and isn't playing as much support. But he is really good at it, so who the fuck cares? He is really good at it. He is good at Initiator, he's good at Duelist, he's good at those two roles. But he's really good at both, so it doesn't really matter, because that's the only roles he really needs to play. So, yeah, he's really good at them. It's just how it is. Or maybe he plays some controllers on that. Maybe. I might be wrong on that one though. I think I am. I don't know. But either way, he's really good. Moving on to the top five, we start with Cryo Cells, who is a guy that's a bit odd-putting here, because recently 100 Thieves have kind of put him on full duelist duty, and then have Asuna sort of flexed a bit with like going Gakko and stuff. But I still think this guy is more of a flex player for them. I mean, he's played ISO quite a lot, which is the duelist he's played the most. And then he's played some controller. Like he has been overplaying a bit of everything, and he has been absolutely frying and looking like one of the best players in the world, and that's why he's fifth. Now number four, we have Freeing, who shouldn't be on here. He should be on Initiator, but they have just placed him on whatever agent they feel like placing him on, so therefore he is on this list, and he is just really good. He just shoots better than literally everybody, and it's sort of how it is. And his util is really good. Um, is basically it's been oh DRX. We don't really have somebody who likes playing Tejo. Freeing, can you do it? Yeah, sure. And then oh Freeing. We might have taken our Senti player to play duelist. Can you play Senti? Yeah, sure. And then it's like, and then he looks really good on that. And then, yo, you know that Senti player that now plays duelist? Well, we've switched him out, and now we have another player who can play the Senti role. But we still want to do the double duelist. So you're gonna have to play the duelist now. And he's like, yeah, sure. And then he does it. And he's just sort of playing whatever, and he looks really good every single time. I will admit he did struggle some bits on the Euro this time, but he still is just shooting better, so it doesn't really matter. Now going into the top three, we start off with Munchkin, who, if you have watched any Valorant last year, except for maybe no, even even Madrid, this guy has probably entered your radar, and he is pretty good. He is pretty good IGLing and flexing and just being absolutely ridiculously good for Genji. And this Genji core of Texture, Karen, and Munchkin is so good that it's kind of sad that they aren't performing better than what they are. Obviously, they've gotten better and better, and it's actually looking like they're on the up now. So I'm pretty excited. But yeah, we'll see. Now going into the second place, we have Izu. And I feel like this is sort of the player that everybody is like, oh, I'm a bit quirky. I think Izu is the best player on T1. And it's sort of become general knowledge that that's not very hot of a take anymore, because he is that good. He is that guy. Izu is honestly on the same level as Meteor. He's the same level as Buzz. Like, he is on that sort of level. And it's just ludicrous how good this guy is. And he's flexing on Yoru. He's flexing on Initiator. He's flexing on Sentinel sometimes, I'm pretty sure as well. He is just really good. And that's where it ends. But he's not better than Chronicle. He is not better than Chronicle. Chronicle, in my opinion, personally, I'm a bit biased, but because I'm a fanatic head, but he's the GOAT of Valorant. I mean, he has won the most trophies out of anybody on multiple different teams, and he has been playing since basically the game launched, and has been one of the best players in the world since the game launched, and has consistently been on a good team since the game launched. What more do I have to say? He is just that guy, and he continues to be, even when Fnatic are playing bad, and Fnatic are on the up and are looking really good, and therefore he's here. So yeah, Chronicle, number one flex player in the world, personally. And yeah, that was the list. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. If you think I missed somebody or anything like that, please comment. And I will see you in the next one.